And then on the seventh day, God rested. But then he realized it was a little boring, and he was very, very horny. You know, all work, no play. Makes God a very bored dude. Anyway, on the seventh day, God made masturbation, and it was good. As a matter of fact, it was so good. Yeah, like moved mountains good. Because God's cock makes a billionaire's cock look like a Chinese dude's little doink. But I digress. Welcome to the Chanel Ashby podcast, where we discuss and review erotica, as well as fetishes, fucking, and all forms of smut. Please join us for another episode of the podcast brought to you by the EIP Network. Excellence in porn, as we do God's work with Chanel. Hi, Chanel.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
I'm good.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah, not bad. Don't you mean a little tiny Chinese dink? I just wanted to correct you.
Dink, doink. It's tiny. That's all that really matters.
Is that because it's Chinese?
Right. We hate the Chinese. Goddamn fuckers.
Do we?
I do.
Oh. Is that because of their taking over the
dildo manufacturing? Right. We're losing good American jobs to Chinese making dildos that they could never comprehend because they've never even come close to a cock like that.
Right. And it's like inferior materials and full of chemicals and stuff.
And like lead paint.
Lead paint all over those dildos.
And glass chips.
Oh, right. And rusty nails.
Exactly.
And they've been made by like 5-year-old kids.
Right. And of course,
like getting paid like a nickel an hour in unsafe conditions.
Now, the upside is that the propaganda factor behind that is every Chinese, like child and young adult, scared of Americans because we have huge cocks in their head.
Right. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's like, oh, gee, how are we supposed to defeat the great imperialist Americans with big cocks like these when all we are tiny little doinks?
Or dinks, as the case
or
may
dinks.
Be.
Right. So
it's very intimidating, especially when you're like a 5-year-old, because your dink is probably super tiny.
Right, it hasn't even like grown yet. It's like
we're talking about 5-year-old dinks.
Well, what's really interesting is that an adult. Let's talk about adult Chinese people.
Okay.
Yeah, you know they're known for having small hands.
Right.
So and tiny dinks.
Although the hands and feet thing that's not necessarily true.
I understand that. I was actually just going from a perception issue for them.
Right.
Right.
So if they were, this is the reason why it should be like a thing. Because if you're using your hand to stroke your dick off, you'd assume that your hand should be able to incorporate that. Although in porn, we do write it so that, nobody's hand could possibly like wrap around this huge, enormous dick. But, that's porn.
Right. And
you would think if you were, actually using your hand to masturbate that you should be able to get a good grip on it.
You'd think.
But hands and feet don't equal dick size.
I wear a size 12 shoe.
Right. I went out with a dude with the smallest feet ever. Biggest dick I've ever seen in real life.
There you go.
Right. I know. I was like, what happened to you?
What? Right.
Right. But also, like, worst personality ever. He was the biggest dick, literally and figuratively.
See?
Right?
It's not always about dick size.
Well, it is, but unfortunately, it doesn't always work out.
I've got to start. One of my stories this week is about dick size.
Right.
So, but here I wanted to talk to you about something I found on the internet.
Oh, okay.
The top 10 fetishes out there.
Oh, okay. Are these the top 10 that are Googled, or what are we basing this on?
North Carolina, University sexual study.
Okay.
So this would be
Highly reliable.
North America. It's actually a real college, not the one I got my degree at online.
Okay.
So I think you actually have to go there
Okay.
to get your degree.
Excellent.
So I just want to get your input on these and I'll tell you about them.
Okay.
So number 10, adult babies.
Oh, yeah. That's big.
Right. ABDL.
Right.
Right. So number 9, swinging and group sex.
Always popular with the men, for sure. And I guess now with the ladies.
It's
occasionally.
Apparently a growth.
Until you go to a real swingers party and see how ugly the people are.
Oh my God! We went to one and it's like, oh, really? And now I know where the Janet Craig's meeting is at, and 2 where apparently every nerd from high school ended up.
Right.
Right.
They don't have 7 friends.
No, they don't.
Right.
No, well, they do there.
Right.
At least they think
well, they have
do.
to pay to have their 7 friends.
Right. So number 8 is water sports. And did you know that, and I may not pronounce this correctly because I did not have time to look up the phonetic spelling, but it's urolagnia or urolagnia.
Okay.
Being turned on by urine.
There is a Latin word that goes with all of those fetishes because they're, medical terms. And I did not know the term for being turned on by urine. However, thank you for, giving that to us. But yeah.
Probably would have been better if I'd pronounced it correctly. But
getting pissed on is always a thing.
Or watching someone piss or
sure.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
So number 7 is cross-dressing.
Right.
Right. Number 6 is foot worship.
That doesn't surprise me.
Right. Number 5 is spanking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Number 4, voyeurism and exhibitionism.
Right.
Yeah. Number 3 is rubber, latex, or leather.
That doesn't surprise me.
Now, number 2, sexual role play.
Doesn't surprise me.
And the number 1 fetish in North America.
Dun, dun, dun.
Domination and submission.
Right. That's a go-to. That's a good list.
Right.
I'm glad you shared that with us.
Thought
It would
so.
be interesting to know how you actually say that word. That's the urine fetish. But, pee-pee is one of those things that's, a part of your life, your whole life. Because when you're a little kid and you're peeing in your pants, that's like a monumental thing when you kind of, the whole process. Like, oh, you used to pee in your pants, now you pee in the toilet, oops, you had an accident, oops, you wet the bed, all that stuff. Those are monumental stepping stones into you becoming an adult, and it's kind of all going on while your sexual identity is being formed as well.
Right.
Plus, it's close to your butt, and pee and poo. That's those are never go away, I guess.
No, and at the other end of the span in your pants, you finish peeing in your pants.
Right. And sometimes in the middle, you just have to pee your pants.
It's like the circle of life, Simba.
Right.
Right. So the first story I read, Big Bats Are Better.
They are.
Right. Written by Portia Cacelli.
Okay.
So, and of course, it follows the story of Dan and Donna. And Donna basically just blows all of Dan's friends because for one reason or another, they're not in a good place and they just need a little oral relief. And Donna's more than happy to give it to them.
That's nice. Does Dan know that she's such a giving
Dan
person?
does know, and he seems to be fine with it.
And he watches?
He does, sometimes.
Does he jag off while he watches?
No, not, well, sometimes.
Okay.
So usually he fucks Donna afterwards.
Oh,
but he obviously
tells him all about what a naughty bad girl she was, and
right, and he gets off on it. So,
nice.
But of course, I did like the use of the term sacred grotto in referring to her vagina because she can blow dudes, but no one's allowed in her sacred grotto except for Dan.
Oh my God!
Right.
Okay, inner goddess.
Right.
Sacred grotto. That makes me want to throw up.
Well, obviously, anybody who uses sacred grotto is one step away from romance writing. So Portia's probably a big girl. That's all I'm saying. So, of course, things escalate when Jake moves into the basement, who has an 11.5-inch dick.
Ooh, that's a job when you do the blow job.
Right, and a 7-inch circumference.
That's a mouthful.
Right, she can't even get it all in. So,
She's just not trying hard enough.
well, I think she does by the end of the story.
Oh, good.
So,
it's good to have goals.
And of course, having such a huge cock, not dock, though you
Not
need
a
a
dock.
dock for that cock, right? So of course he had to move in because he's separated from his wife because his cock is so big that his wife doesn't want anything to do with it.
Hashtag big dick problem.
Right, like that ever happens.
Right.
So I have yet to find a woman tell me that she left someone because their dick was too big.
Right.
So, and of course, this starts down the road to where Donna realizes that, that's the dick I want in my sacred grotto.
Right. Not the husband.
Cautionary tale, my friends.
Right. Don't ever have a friend with a dick that's bigger than yours.
Right. If you're going to go down that road, you want to make sure that they have the same dick or smaller than yours. Matter of fact, just be friends with a lot of Chinese people, and you should be okay. So, and of course, they spend a fair amount of time referring to the average size dick as 5 inches.
That's kind of depressing.
Seems kind of small, too, doesn't it?
Hey, I don't know. You're the one who does all this dick research.
Right, I should do some on that.
Right. I do think that they say that the average size is 6. But,
Apparently, Portia is on the lower end of that spectrum scale. Except for Jake.
Maybe she had Chinese boyfriends.
Oh, that could be.
Maybe she likes ramen noodles.
As in limp and slim.
Limp and skinny.
Right. So, and of course, we've talked about this before, that you never want to get cum in somebody's nose or hair.
Right. That's just rude.
Right. Of course, Jake gets cum in her face, hair, nose, boobs, basically just all over the place.
And everywhere out, just not in the hair, because then it's like a whole thing, and not in up your nose. Like, what are you doing putting anything up someone else's nose? Like the old saying, like, you can't pick your friend's nose. You shouldn't put anything up someone else's nose.
Right. Now, it was disturbing that this author used schlip glig, to refer to the sound you make when you're blowing somebody.
That's not...
It's lazy writing.
Well, and how do I know? I've never made those noises. Or heard those noises.
Right.
So...
We should double check that later.
Yeah, I think you should.
Right.
Right.
So, Big Bats Are Better by Portia Cacelli. I'm going to give it 3 boners.
You would.
Right. Because the writing was okay, but it was distracting with the Schlipglug and, of course, Sacred Grotto.
Right? Did you get like a little bit of a chub, though?
No, not really. But the writing was...
Even though she was a dirty, dirty whore.
It would get you to where you wanted to be.
If it weren't for the sound effects.
Right. Because it, opens with those right off the bat.
Ugh.
It's like right at the very beginning. First, sentence.
I'm going to negate your rating and say it's 2 boners.
Okay.
Even though I didn't read it.
2 boners is good. That's fair. Of course, you can find Portia everywhere fine smut is sold and are given away.
Shitty smut.
Right. Well, which leads us to one of your stories, Dominated by My Perverted Girlfriend by Brock Landers. What kind of name is Brock? It's like the weatherman on the San Antonio Channel 5 network.
Oh, well, here's the deal with Brock. This was originally titled Pegged by My Filthy Girlfriend by J.T. Holland, which I have this feeling like I've read something by that author before. and I just couldn't like figure out which one it was. But there is something to note here that quite often erotica will be retitled and or, you know, new pen name occasionally, and or you rebox something, put a new title, new picture, blah blah blah. Why do we do that? Well, the obvious reason, cheddar, because it's all about the new in porn world, and sometimes, you know, you gotta make it look new. Also, sometimes your previously titled work is now banned or on the adult censored list or whatever, because the word pegged is one of those words that will get you on the
list.
It's an adult censored list word. It's a naughty word on Apple and Google. So I'm going to say that maybe this person had to retitle it in order to get it back out there. Anyway, he should have just left it alone, because the book could have been really good, but it was really, really disappointing. I'm giving it 1 boner. I don't even know why. Honestly, I'm going to give it like a not even. It's a 0 boner. I'm taking away 1 boner from my original. I'm changing my mind.
Boy, you're all about dialing down that, handing out the. You took 1 boner away from me.
Right? I'm like Caesar. I'm gonna, you know.
Right, boner down.
Right. The reason why is because, you know, who is the intended audience for this, dominated by my perverted girlfriend? Well, it's going to be guys who want to get pegged, right? And it should be quite hot. And what it winds up doing is actually making the whole thing sound scary and a little unpleasant, and really kind of promotes this idea that women would really only want to peg a man in order to, you know, exact some kind of revenge on him for, like, this is what it feels like to get fucked. Take it, bitch. Which, you know, could be done in a hot way, but it actually was written where it kind of just makes all women sound like we're cunts, instead of that we might actually enjoy just fucking a dude in the ass.
I know you very well. You are not a cunt.
Not about something like that. Anyway, so it's like a shitty attitude about the sex on top of making pegging sound kind of scary and not really all that fun. And so the main character, this was the worst part. I'm going to do a spoiler because I'm going to assume people aren't reading it. The main character is rimming his girlfriend before we get to they even get to the pegging. You know, there's a little foreplay. And she told him to eat her filthy asshole. Now, I happened to be reading this story when I was taking a break and eating some lunch, and I spit out my lunch at that point. And I just want to say, FYI, I don't ever want to hear about your filthy asshole while I'm reading erotica, unless this is a scat story, in which case I signed up for poop, and, you know, it's reader beware.
We're not even doing poo in our fetishes of the week right now.
Right? So otherwise, I want your asshole to be as clean as the Virgin Mary's asshole must have been. And I don't want to hear about it being filthy. I want to hear about it, how it tastes delicious, like a Skittle.
Skittles are delicious.
Right? So anyway, it was a total shit, total waste of time, shitty story. Boner down, Brock Landers, or JT Holland, whoever you are. And fuck you for wasting my time.
Well, I would love to tell you that I was following it up with an excellent story.
Right, we need an excellent story now.
I read What's Going Down at the DMV. It's almost like a rap song. What's going down at the DMV? Hey. Right?
That sounds interesting. Like it could be funny.
You'd think that it opens a lot of possibilities, doesn't it?
Right? Like, what do you have to do in order to not stand in this goddamn line?
Right. Well, apparently, if you're Largent C. Lang, Lange, You start out by basically just lounging around your apartment waiting for your fuck buddy from upstairs to get home from work so that you can give her a little, because she's basically just looking for dick and that's all. But she does bring a six-pack, which he appreciates. But
Very
then,
cordial.
right? And so Lana, his fuck buddy, basically just man rapes him.
Nice.
And before he can bust a nut, she pushes him off of her because she came, and she goes, "Don't worry, I'll give you a little something later, but I'm gonna have a beer first." And he realizes at this moment that his license is expired.
What a convenient time to be thinking about that.
Right? So he calls up the DMV, which is open for 5 more minutes, and has a very short conversation with the woman there, who pulls up his driver's license, AKA saw the photo, and said, "Okay, if you can get down here really fast, I'll take care of you after hours."
Ooh.
Right? So he gets down there and meets the lovely Rosa.
Nice.
Right? A nice little senorita who, after copping a feel on his ass, tells him to take his shirt off while he's getting his picture taken.
Sexy.
He then proceeds to spend 2 pages basically sucking on her tits, which I will say, and I do agree with this, that when he refers to her tits being as sweet as Mexican Coke as opposed to American Coke.
Right, he knows.
Right, because Mexican Coke has like real sugar in it. That's good stuff. So that was a nice reference. And the other nice reference, too, was when Lana, the fuck buddy, referred to him as the talking vibrator.
Nice.
Right?
So he just got a lot of respect for women here.
Right. So then, of course, he does Rosa the only way Rosa should get done. Down and dirty at the DMV.
In the butt.
No. No butt. Probably. Well, no. That's what Donald Trump would say.
Right.
Right.
Because you don't want to make any more anchor babies.
Right. Yeah. So you only fuck the Mexican women in the butt. Take it, Rosa. Because she's probably born in California, an American citizen, but he wouldn't care.
No, I'm sure he wouldn't.
No, not at all.
Because he's an ignoramus.
Right. Total douche. But so, after taking care... Oh, and then, of course, the reference to Rosa pulling a condom out of her purse. So that was a whole, thing.
She's Mexican. She doesn't do condoms.
Right. It's all about, how you going to keep that anchor baby if, you're using a condom. So then, of course, he gets home where Lana is now drunk on his couch because she's drank all the beer that...
Wait, did the Mexican chick let him come?
No. Wait. No, I don't think so.
Wow. Why the condom?
Maybe he was going to come, but he didn't. So, you may want to double check those facts. I don't remember, to be perfectly honest.
All right.
But then he gets home, and of course, Lana, who's still a little horny, and now she's drunk, realizes that he had a condom on, but she's all good with him, dunking some random chick at the DMV because they're just fuck buddies. So then he fucks her.
And he still has a condom on?
No, the condom's not on, but the smell of the condom's all over his dick.
Ew.
That latex smell.
Yeah, the rubber band smell.
Right, so she gets a whiff of that. Makes him take a shower before they fuck.
There's a lot of really,
really poor writing.
It's just why are we talking about this?
This is what we do every week.
No, because in
okay.
the story, why are we talking about your dick smells like rubber and who gives a fuck?
There were tons of random facts.
All right.
That you don't really. And the book was only 28 pages long, so it wasn't even on my iPhone. So it wasn't even that long.
Wow.
Right? It's like 4 regular pages of paper, probably.
Right.
So, yeah, no boners for Largent, as if. More like smallish.
Smallish.
Right. So, Largent Lang got this off Smashwords. I do not know if he's on other mediums, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Right. You take a pass.
I definitely take a pass. Though I am going to go renew my driver's license just on the off chance that He's correct.
You should definitely take the Wilbur with you to the DMV just in case.
Right.
You never know.
Here's hoping.
Maybe get moved to the front of the line.
That would be nice. There's a lot of people at the DMV usually.
Right.
I know. It's a lot of scary looking people there.
Sketchy people.
Right.
Your kind of people.
Well, they're people that I might see at the Super 8. But I don't want to see them at the... I avert any eye contact just on the off chance.
Really? So after an encounter at the Super 8, you don't ever look at those people in the eye?
Email only.
Oh, like a follow-up.
Right. Usually...
Like a customer service form.
A survey and
like
thank you. Right.
Thank you for fucking me in all of my holes.
Right. We at the Super 8 and the Chris P. Swingers Club do appreciate your attendance. Please rate not only the sex, the holes, the snack bar, because we're very proud of our snack bar. Okay. You know, and because you got to stay hydrated.
True.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So you also read something else, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So this whole week, apparently, shitty stories abound. Another story that I was sort of really thinking it could be good, called Top Shelf Cougar by Scotty Diggler.
The name should have been... they're not really trying, are they?
Well, I thought, you know... If you're an 18-year-old boy, because of course we know in porn world everything good happens the day you turn 18.
Right, and ends the day after.
Right, and then,
right.
You just happen to run into a top shelf cougar. It could be a really hot story.
How fortuitous for that 18-year-old.
Right. So I kind of got tricked because I felt like, this might have been good. So no Mrs. Robinson. Wasn't hot at all. I also couldn't find this story or author anywhere else. So in this case, it's a good thing. So story is young guy, limited sexual experience, of course. He pays an escort and comes like 3 times in an hour. So, right there, it should have been like mind-blowing.
He's been saving up, Slee.
Right. Well, and the escort's just that good. I am going to give it 1.5 boners because...
The cougar is the escort?
Yeah.
Well, and he had to pay for it?
Right. I know. Okay. But there's a titty fucking part that actually was written pretty good. So if you're into titties and fucking titties...
You could skip right to that part.
Well, it wouldn't really be long enough for you to really get off on that.
That's what she said.
Right. It's like a paragraph, but it was actually pretty good. But other than that, sucked pretty hard, and not in a good way. Top shelf cougar should be avoided at all costs.
You were talking about we talk every week about the different venues you can find your smut at if you're a reader.
Yes.
And obviously you've got iBooks, you've got Google Play. Google Play or Google Plus?
It's Google Play.
Google Play. You've got Smashwords.
Yes.
Where else can you buy porn at?
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. That'd be Kindle, right?
No, Barnes and Noble is the Nook.
Okay, that's the Nook. And then you've got the Kindle app, which is all through Amazon.
Yes.
And then, of course, Amazon, which is the #1 smut reseller.
And then there's a lot of smaller independent places. However, those are all sort of up for grabs because they're here for a few months and then they decide to close up because they can't compete with Amazon. What was it? Scribd? Scribd was an independent book outlet online that was, instead of charging you per book, was doing like a subscription based something or other. And a lot of people had hopes that was going to go, be the new way that online books were going, which would have actually sucked really a lot for authors. However, they're gone. So there's other places, and if you're into romance, there's a lot of places online for romance.
Right, that's like a bad word.
Yeah, I know, but for online erotica, it's usually Amazon, iTunes, Barnes and Noble. I don't know how many dudes are on Barnes and Noble.
I don't know. But, of course, make sure your adult filter is turned off. Otherwise, you can't see all of Chanel's fine work, or at least some of it.
On Barnes and Noble, I don't think they have an adult filter. I think it's all up for grabs because Barnes and Noble's run by pagans.
Big high five to Barnes and Noble's then.
Right? Hell yeah.
You know, but the reason I bring this up is you wanted to talk briefly about Literotica.
Correct.
Which is literotica.com, which is a free porn website.
It is. It's a they've been around forever. I'm going to say probably 15 years maybe. Literotica is the largest website of its kind where it's reader-written erotica.
Reader-written content, right?
Yeah. All of it is free. Now, some people would be like, ugh, if I can get it for free, why would I pay for it?
You get what you pay for.
Right. And in this case, you're going to have to go through copious amounts of shittily written stuff to get to something good. However, I do want to say that this week, the one and only really hot thing that I read was on Literotica. So when you find something, you might find something really good. But it was like this farmer and his daughter in a barn. And I know that sounds like retarded, but it was...
Well, where else would a farmer and his daughter be?
Right. And like it was really well written and it was hot. And he was like watching her take a bath.
In the barn?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
And like it was hot and sweaty. And she was all like getting naked, but you know.
Was he jacking it to that?
And he was jacking it, and she was horny, and then, you know, things went to their natural conclusion.
Of course.
And, yeah, it was good. It was really well written.
But how many things have you read on Literotica that...
Well, you know...
that were bad?
Here's what I like Literotica for. First of all, it's people who are not professional writers, and they've decided, well, you know, I'm going to write this story. And because a lot of people will decide, you know, they have an idea for something that they think is going to be a really hot story, then write it. Go to Literotica, write it. Submit it and see what people think about it, because having an idea and putting it on paper are two totally different things. But I think everybody should take the chance and see if, you know, does somebody else like my idea. You can also you get free editing help on Literotica. There's people that are volunteer editors. They also have graphic novels. So if you were artistic and liked to draw dirty naked pictures, that'd be, you know, a good place to get some feedback. I just think it's nice for, you know, people to have an audience and have feedback on something that they enjoy doing just for fun. So
it sounds like a fun website to just go, and they've got categories. You said that they've got a category just on anal.
There's just anal, everything to do with the butt and butt sex. There is incest, and that's like the only place online that you're going to get real incest porn. Non-human, you know, be that as it may. Could be ghosts, could be a goat. You never know.
Or a werebear. Werebears are cool.
Right. Mind control. There's a non-consensual category, which rapey stuff is getting cleaned out everywhere. Nobody wants to sell that. But since
unless it's
free,
under romance. For whatever reason, non-consensual sex in the romance category is fine.
Right, exactly. What else did I want to say? Oh, the only place on the internet besides like some creepy torrent sites with pedophiles and viruses and whatnot where you can get real incest stories. So like grandma sex, mom, daughter, you know, young man and his uncle, etc. incest stories, and that is not only the most popular category, but it's got the most amount of stories there.
Really?
So obviously people like it in the family. So there's a lot of incest stories. Yeah, you're going to have to go through and read some stuff that you don't particularly care for. However, one of the other nice things about Literotica is once you join the site, you get a sign-on, which you don't have to do. You can read as much as you want to without ever signing on. But if you do get a login and you sign in, you can comment on other people's stories.
That's sweet.
Right? So if you think it sucked, you can say, you know what, your story sucked. Just knowing that, karma is a bitch. And if you write something and submit it, be prepared because people are ruthless. They will let you know exactly how much they hated it. And when writing erotica, it's impossible to write one perfect story that everyone thinks is hot.
Early on, didn't you post a story up there?
I did do some
for a brief period.
Nice incesty stories on Literotica, and it was a great way to just get feedback from real people versus like a publisher. You're also going to get emails from perverts, which, depending on how much you like,
which may be okay.
It can be real interesting. Some very famous erotica authors have gotten their start on Literotica over the years. However, if you do decide to sell a story that is on Literotica, you have to take it down off of Literotica first because it can't be published for free somewhere else, and then you go and sell it.
Well, Amazon is price matches, right?
They will price match if they find it somewhere for free. Then they're making your story for free. Plus, people are gonna say like, "Oh, it was plagiarized because I read it for free on Literotica." So take it down from Literotica if you decide to sell your story. Yeah, and it's a great community. They have a lot of, there's a forum there where you can actually talk to someone like, hey, I'm writing this kind of a story. What do you think about my idea? So you can get actual feedback from other people that write on a just for fun basis for years. So they have a lot of experience with different story ideas. And again, if you're going to do erotic poetry or something else like that, that'd be your audience. Because those are people that
don't know why anyone would want to read erotic poetry.
Well, yeah.
My penis is like a tree, tall and towering over the sacred grotto.
So that was, I'm recommending Literotica. I do want to start going on it more often, maybe looking for some new authors there, maybe talking about some of the stories I find on there, which would be kind of interesting. And I'm not going to do bad ones. I mean, actual good, new, hot stories. And definitely if there's new or wannabe erotica authors out there that listen to the show, I think they should feel free, if you would like someone to take a look at your work, to send it to chrisploves69@gmail.com.
Right.
Because Chris P, although doesn't have a ton of time on his hands, always takes time out to read something dirty.
Don't we all?
Well,
of course,
especially you do.
You take time out to write something dirty, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of time to read, although if it catches my interest, I will read it to completion. So
we like it when you get us to completion.
Right.
Right. What did you write this week?
I had a very good time because after you and I watched the Republican debate on television, I was very upset by that whole thing. I couldn't stop shouting at the television, so I wrote Trumped. Candidate turns gangster's girlfriend.
Right. All about little Ronnie Trump.
Right.
Ronald Trump.
Yeah, I changed his name to Ronald because I don't know why.
And
I don't want to deal with some asshole.
Right.
Besides the regular, just normal assholes I deal with.
Everyday run-of-the-mill assholes. Yeah.
So, Ronald Trump is shooting his mouth off on television about how much he hates Mexicans, not knowing that El Grande, who is a rename of a famous gangster,
Mexican cartel leader.
right, is watching the Republican debates because, of course, he does a lot of business with these people. And he gets pissed off at Ronald Trump and decides to have him kidnapped.
And turn into his little bitch.
Well, and thanks to those heavy-duty hormones they use over in Mexico,
Right, we get all the good drugs.
right, he turns into quite a hot-looking chick.
So make sure you buy that wherever you buy your smut, because unlike some other authors, Chanel smut is everywhere.
Right, and this one's actually, knock on wood, hasn't been pulled down or censored anywhere yet, so it is available everywhere as of right this moment.
I'd jump on it. So, okay, moving along. So, the sex phrase of the week, as we continue our tour of America, I was very excited I found this one this morning. But as we continue our tour of America, we profile sex terms that reference states and cities all over the greatest country in the world, the most powerful nation, as
Canada.
dictated by God, the United States. Take it back, young lady.
Canada.
Hey, buddy. Right, like that.
Right? Like Canadian bacon.
Big shout out to South Park, because this week's episode was
great.
Was one of the best I've ever seen.
And Donald Trump apparently is, nobody that's doing South Park is a big fan of Donald Trump either.
Apparently not. They made him the president of Canada.
Right? Nice hair.
Right. So, yeah, definitely you want to take a look at that. But this week I was very excited because it's the Los Angeles Coke line. Right?
This is not a poo-related thing, I can tell.
It's not. It doesn't even have anything to do with drugs either. Or pop, for that matter.
Wow.
So, when a threesome is occurring with two girls and one dude, okay, you with me so far?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Before coming, the guy pulls out and basically nuts one in a line on the table or the bed or the,
Okay.
wherever.
A hard surface.
A hard surface. So one of the girls then snorts it, and then when she snorts it, she hawks it into her mouth,
and
type
then
thing.
Spits it out.
And spits it into the other girl's vajay. Thus creating the possibility of impregnation. Don't really know why you need to feel like the impregnation is part of it, but I would imagine just basically snorting it would be enough.
Okay.
But yeah, so Los Angeles Coke line.
Nice.
Right.
What happened to just, no cum in the nose? What happened to that? Apparently.
You know what? I would say that as a dude, I cannot cum in your nose, but if one of my lady friends wanted to ingest it of her own free will.
Up her nose,
then it would behoove me to basically nut one out in a line for her.
I think if anyone listening would actually snort a nostril full of jizz, that they should actually take a picture of that and send it to crispylove69@gmail.com.
I actually would like to see that.
I bet you would.
Right.
I can see you kind of wiggling over there thinking about it.
I kept my pants up this week.
Right. Well, we didn't read anything that was so hot that you need to take your pants off,
Right.
Unfortunately.
It's a little sad.
I know.
And I always come over to your dungeon and do my reading there, so
Right.
it's very comfortable on the in the dentist chair that you've got sitting in the middle of the room. So
That's just because you want to get some gas.
right, that's a little hard to read under the black lights, but I make it work.
I bet.
So let's see. We've covered your literature. We're not going to do anything on romance because I can't take it. It all sucks. Romance is just a bunch of fat chicks writing for other fat chicks. I mean,
Well, we're not the romance crowd.
we're really not. We like our smut.
I know you tried in the beginning because you were trying to be open-minded.
And in the future, I'm gonna try, but I just couldn't this week.
You know, if you can get a dose of romance in there after you've had like a really big like jizzed all over because you read something that was super hot, then that kind of like counteracts it. But
Right.
when we don't read anything hot, then we can't read romance.
No, and it was a long week. Work was hard this week, and we had team building exercises, and we went camping.
Really?
So,
With
right.
the Wilbur?
Right. No, I left the Wilbur at home because it was actually in Canada. So, because that's apparently they have a lot of forests there.
Right.
So,
Well, and that's where Donald Trump is. So.
right. So we went up there, but we couldn't take our sales material with because technically we're not supposed to be working in Canada because, there are rules about that. So this was all about team building.
That sounds
at
awful.
sales meetings. It was a tough week.
Did you see any bears?
I did not see any bears.
Did you see any wolves?
I heard wolves.
Really?
Oh, right.
Were you naked in the woods?
I was naked in my tent in the woods.
But you never went outside naked?
No.
Did you have a hard time masturbating in your tent?
No, I didn't. No, I can masturbate just about anywhere. So, I got an extra 15 minutes. Let's go.
Okay.
So,
Good to know.
3 minutes masturbating, 12 minutes
Cleaning up?
right.
You're nasty.
Just a little. So, we're going to take a couple weeks off because we have stuff we need to do. But we will be back in a couple weeks. And, of course, we welcome all questions and comments to ChrisPLove69@gmail.com. And please do not send any pictures of you snorting semen up your nose, ladies. Or
Right? 'Cause
picture
no one wants to see that.
No.
Not Chris P.
Of course not. That email is open 24/7. ChrisPLove69@gmail.com. And, of course, we hope you all have a really good week. And we look forward to talking at you again soon. Take care, Chanel.
You too, Chris.